Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 perfumes for the month of January 2023. So let's get straight to it. Now before we touch base on the 5, subscribe to my channel here on the tubes. You can also follow me on Patreon, superdacob, all spelled together there for extra perks. Thank you to my patrons who have pledged. Listen, this is a very special month for many reasons. Mostly because it's the first month of the year and 2022 has been a doozy in the best of ways and in the worst of ways. It's been a really difficult year and it also ended in a very, very bad way. We're going to get to that in this video. But first, let's begin with the more soft introduction into this story. Now, the first one of the 5 is Guerlain. L'Instant de Guerlain in eau de toilette form in one of the interim bottles. They don't do this B bottle anymore. Now they do different cheaper bottles that are cheaper for them to manufacture. But this is not the first iteration of L'Instant de Guerlain because the first one had its own original bottle, but now they want to save money apparently. And so they're kind of all of their more classic perfumes, they're streamlining them and, releasing them all in the same bottles. Alas, they're all saving money. But this is a very, very beautiful perfume in the cold winter months because of, I have here several, the white honey, which is slightly dirty, but it's at the base of this perfume, but it creates warmth, the honey in the perfume. It has ylang ylang, which is a buttery consistency within the olfactive family. And the magnolia, which I have here, red apple, bergamot, mandarin, benzoin, amber, musk. I mean, it's a mess of something, but it has that freshness, and then it has the vanilla as well, classic guerlinade combination, but it goes from that apple opening into a benzoin, musky, drenched in magnolia, white honey with a slight hint of dirt smell in it, which is just intoxicatingly beautiful. And it just makes you feel warm and cozy, but it's sharp. It's a very sharp smell. It's not one of those warm fragrances that make you kind of, it's not a bubbly warm fragrance. Like for example, Yop Le Ban would be also a vanilla fragrance that has a roundness to it, like a softness to it. Well, this one doesn't have that. It is cozy, but sharp. It's a very distinct, sharp smell on the skin, albeit it being warm and floral in its own way. So it's a fruity floral, strangely, with benzoins and musks in the dry down. I love it for winter. It just kind of makes me focus, and it does smell of like a purple red color with streaks of sunlight, of yellow sunlight, creating this ambery type of color, when the red mixes with the yellow. Well, it would turn orange technically, but this color actually describes it quite well. This dark, ambery type of juice. And the purple sticker really gives it it's kind of a color, they nailed the color. The juice color and the sticker color really give you the idea of the color this perfume smells of. Really gorgeous. And it is soothing to me in January. It's kind of a relaxing smell given everything we went through. We're going to get to that in a minute. Now, the next one, my second one. Oh, by the way, it would be great to know also your top 5 in the description box, in the comment section down below. But also, while you're watching this, it's kind of interesting to guess, if you want to try guessing which 5 have I picked for my January. Now, the second one, oh boy, Chanel. It's Bois des Îles by Chanel in the Eau de Parfum concentration. I've literally just unboxed this one and I've already dented it so much, and look how much is already missing. Bois des Îles has not been in my top 10 in my top 5 for years, like literally for years. I just kind of rediscovered it again now. And I've had only Bois des Îles in Parfum, Extrait, and Eau de Toilette concentrations in my collection. Never got the Eau de Parfum. now I got the eau de parfum. What can I say? And I am obsessed. To say obsessed, to say the least obsessed. I mean, it's an understatement. I'm bathing in this one. Unfortunately, my sense of smell or my body does not recognize this perfume as dangerous to me. So usually, how does it work? You smell perfumes on yourself as long as your body recognizes them as a foreign entity. So it sounds the alarm and it kind of tells you, hey, there's a new smell surrounding your body. It could potentially be dangerous, could be poison. So your body is on alert. It's aware of the smell constantly. Until you've worn something for a long time and then the body gets used to it and it realizes, well, it's no harm to you. There's no danger there. That's when you start becoming kind of anosmic to a smell, meaning you stop actively being aware of it. So others will still smell it on you when you're walking around the street. People who have never smelled the smell in particular are going to smell it really intensely on you, even though you might not recognize the smell anymore. You know, you might spray it on 30 times and you still can't smell it on yourself anymore. Well, that's because if you usually use just one perfume, with time, your body gets used to it and it doesn't recognize it as a potential hazard to your health. So you stop realizing it's there, you know, it's like a subconscious thing. But others are still going to smell it on you. And this is why I always say, you know, don't just have one perfume. You know, I never understood the concept of saying, oh, this is my signature scent. Oh my God, I'm looking for my signature scent. It doesn't exist. That's you should really get away from that. And wear, you know, every perfume for every occasion, for every mood. And the more perfumes you have, and the least you're going to become anosmic to them, because you're not going to be just using one perfume all the time. Hence, when you take a break from one particular perfume and then you come back to it a couple of months later, you're gonna kind of recognize it again more, and you're gonna smell it around yourself when you spray it on more, longer, also more intensely. So that's something to consider. Now, having said all that, Bois d'Azil is one of those rare fragrances I'm quite anosmic to. No matter if I take a 2-year break before I use them again, it's just one of those perfumes that chemically, the way that they're composed and the way that the ingredients are and the ingredients that they use and how it all smells to me, it just fits me. You know what I mean? It fits my physical body chemistry to a T. So I smell it. Of course I smell it and I love how it smells, but very soon after I've sprayed a lot on my body, I don't sense it anymore around me. Now, if I take off the t-shirt and then like 2 or 3 days later, I kind of sniff on my t-shirt again right before I wash it, I smell it really intensely. I'm like, oh, I get wafts of Bois d'Azil from my clothes. So I know it's not a weak perfume. It sticks around for days, but I'm a little bit anosmic to it, but it is very comforting and soothing to me. So this is why I use it a lot lately. It just gives me, it cradles me. The sandalwood in here is just to die for, and especially a very fresh batch. This is 7401. Has a softer balance of aldehydes in the top notes. You know, the older Bois d'Azil gets, and the heavier it will become, and especially heavier will become the top aldehydic notes that some of you don't like. I'm fine with the aldehydes. I mean, you got to love your aldehydes if you love your Chanel. There's no way of avoiding it. Chanel is all about the aldehydes, but in particular, these 20s fragrances from Chanel, they're very aldehyde heavy. And aldehydes, when they age a little, when they kind of get a little bit of oxygen in them, they tend to become quite aggressive and punchy in the top notes. So my experience in general, also with number 22, also with Cuir de Russie, and with Bois d'Azil, when you buy fresh batches, I love them the most when they're really, really fresh, because the aldehydes are more tame, you know, when the perfumes are really, really fresh. Maybe that's also why I'm using it up so much in the beginning, because I know the more I wait and the more those aldehydes are going to become pronounced for me in the top notes. And I'm also fine with that. But to be perfectly honest with Bois d'Azil, I kind of like when the aldehydes are gone after 20, 30 minutes of wearing it. Like, you get that aldehydic note dissipating, and then you get that beautiful sandalwood. You get quicker to the sandalwood in a fresh batch of Bois d'Azil eau de parfum than you would in an older one. Just a little note for you to consider. You know, I've had several Bois des bottles, different batch, eau de toilette, extrait, eau de parfum now as well, from different years, and some of them decades old. And I know from experience how deep that opening aldehydic note can become the older Bois des is. And if you don't like that, get yourself a fresh batch and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Because I know a lot of people say that for them Bois des is a little bit annoying because of the aldehydes. Well, to me, it is a masterpiece of a fragrance. Ernest Beau delivered, and then some with this one. So this is my number 2. Very soothing. Oh, sorry, I just hit the mic. Very soothing and comforting for these cold winter months, which, as we all know, tend to become, in some cases, a little bit too overpowering for some. But there are those days where I crave also a fresh nuance, a zesty nuance of a fragrance, almost like a lavender minty type of perfume. Also with vanilla in the dry down. Yeah, again, we're going to have vanilla here. And this one has not been in my top 5 also for many, many years. What's going on? There has been a shift in 2023. There's something in the air, you guys. Something is changing. Is it for the better or for the worse? I don't know. But something is changing. Anyway, my number 3 for January 2023 would be Le Mal by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Eau de toilette form, you know, the first iteration of Le Mal, none of the flankers, none of the other concentrations, the Parfum, the Le Beau, whatever they have, Eau Fraiche, none of that. This is the classic Jean-Paul Gaultier Le Mal Eau de Toilette in its first bottle iteration in the 75 ml. For those of you who are wondering, what do you mean? There's 40 mil, 75. What do they do? 100, 200 mil, 125 mil. They don't do 100 mil, 125 mil. No, those are all bottles that came later. But 1995, when this perfume was first released, the 75 mil bottle was the OG bottle. And it also has the best proportions in the 75 mil. So I always, when I repurchase Le Mal, I go for the 75 mil just because it is as close as possible to the OG. If not, it is the OG. And I always pay attention to find a bottle made in France, not made in Spain. In fact, my bottle is made in France. It's a relatively new batch. Batch code 13161. So this was Francis Kurkdjian's first creation in the 90s. He was in his early mid 20s, Francis, when he made this one for Jean-Paul Gaultier. And it is a masterpiece. Now, I know it has a weird reputation nowadays. A lot of, weird people are associated with Le Mal, and certain type of people wear it that, some people don't really like. It's become a mainstream product, and it's become, worn by not the best type of people sometimes, but I don't really care. I forget about all of that. When I wear Le Mal, I wear it for my own personal pleasure. It is a beauty, and it is a masterpiece of a minty lavender vanilla concoction. And truth be told, my humble opinion, Francis Kurkdjian has never outdone himself after this perfume, which is a little bit unfortunate for him. Listen, I love Francis Kurkdjian, and I'm super happy that he's the head of Dior Perfumes right now. But I have the feeling that, well, first of all, nobody does lavender like him. I think he does lavender justice like nobody else. But also, I believe his best lavender ever is Le Mal. And I'm like, he's kind of, I have the feeling he's been spending his entire career struggling to outdo himself again and to step out of the shadows of Le Mal. But quite frankly, he hasn't managed yet. Not in my opinion. In my opinion, this is his claim to fame, Le Mal. And it is a burden for a perfumer to reach a peak that young. To be that young and to already deliver your masterpiece, it's really hard. How can you live up to that? So I do believe that he has a little bit of issues. I mean, he's been incredibly successful. He has his own, Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrance line. He's worked for so many brands and houses. I mean, he also created green tea, Elizabeth Arden, which is a huge success still to this day. So, he's done amazing work. But to me, you say Francis Kurkdjian, I'm like, yeah, Le Mal. Now, why do I prefer Le Mal right now for this month of January? Because it has a cooling minty note in the opening, but there's that promise of warmth with that vanilla, and that lavender kind of tickling already from the get-go. And this perfume does get warmer the longer you wear it. It does become more cozy and comforting and soothing the longer it's on the skin, the more it warms up on the skin. And it's a process of being zesty in the opening, delivering that freshness, that minty freshness in the opening, but then kind of going into a more soothing territory. You see, there's kind of a pattern forming here. We're getting all of these perfumes I'm choosing are kind of like soothing, right? It's all about soothing. It's all about trying to find a point in time when the perfumes do soothe. Now, my number 4, interesting, also very soothing, also wonderful, also in summertime, not just in winter, but number 4 would be another Francis Kurkdjian fragrance. It's Anwar by Christian Dior and Francis Kurkdjian. Now, yes, I do believe Le Male is better. It has more character. It has a punchline. Maybe also because it was the early 90s. So a different type of character was required from perfumes. They needed to deliver a more synthetic punch in many ways, more pop. But I love that. But Anwar, in its green iteration and Cologne iteration, which I also have from the early 2000s, is another one of Francis Kurkdjian's claims to fame, I believe. And I do think that Le Male and Anwar are his best 2 perfumes that he ever did. And Anwar, in the current iteration, in the yellow juice, also beautiful. A little bit less complex than its predecessor in green, but however, still beautiful nonetheless. And it delivers the woodsy notes, the burnt woods, sooner. There's no real journey to discovering where those woods are with this iteration. With the green one, it takes time to get to the burnt woods. With the current version, you're in the woods immediately from the get-go. Now, he does state that he used like 2 different lavender essences or essential oils in this one. There's cedar wood, there's tobacco, there's leathery accords. What else is in there? Violet, vanilla, Virginia cedar, immortelle, saffron, coffee, sage, thyme. The immortelle, which is basically curry, it does go a little bit curry-esque on some skins, and so some people say it's a little bit too like food-like on their skin. It does not turn too immortelle-ish on me. It actually stays very much a lavender, licorice, and fennel accord on me. And then, of course, it hits that burnt woodsy accord, which is probably the coffee mixed in with the cedar. And I think they also, the leather, green stems, licorice. There's something smoky in this one for me that is just beautiful. And of course, in winter, I mean, it's a masterpiece. I do love it in summer as well. Now, unfortunately, they've upped the prices literally on the 2nd of January. What a doozy. Dior keeps upping their prices. Like, Dior behaves with their perfumes like Chanel behaves with their bags. Not cool, Dior. I think the prices, I think the comfort zone, I think we're way beyond the comfort zone when it comes to the pricing of the Collection Privee. But hey, to each their own. I'm going to be that sucker that's still going to keep buying Anwar as long as they keep producing it. I'm just lucky that I purchased a few bottles of this as backup before this latest price increase, but alas. Anyway, another comforting, soothing one. This is the one that I wear when I'm a little bit more in my thoughts with me. Those burnt woods give me almost a meditative type of state of mind. They center me, they rebalance me in a very peculiar way. When I wear Anwar, I feel like, well, first of all, I feel like it's less cold. It's winter right now, so it's always cold in some parts of the world. But when I wear Anwar, I feel like, it's not cold anymore, and my thoughts focus. They kind of crystallize somehow. So I get to do a lot of interesting thinking and creative work done while I wear Anwar. That's a little interesting tidbit of information that I don't usually share, but now you know. Another one of the reasons I love it so much, it helps me focus and be more creative, which is a beautiful thing for a perfume to be able to help you deliver. And now we get to number 5. The 5th perfume for the month of January is chosen for many different reasons. One of them being to homage and in honor of Vivienne Westwood, who has sadly passed away on the 29th of December of 2022. I have done several videos to honor her memory and to homage her. And of course, this January would not be any January if it wasn't for Vivienne and Boudoir. Vivienne Westwood's Boudoir fragrance, you know, it is the unisex baby. And in fact, I'm wearing Vivienne Westwood right now. And here you have it. All perfumes are unisex. I always say perfumes know no gender. Here you have it. Viv with her unisex concept of fashion as well. I miss her so much already. And it's kind of really hard for me to deal with it. And I go through tears and I recollect myself and then I cry again. So when I filmed the movie Art Lovers Unite with Vivienne Westwood, she was wearing Boudoir. And big personalities like her that are going to end up in many history books of fashion, design, and activism are going, you know, she is my living Coco Chanel, you know, well, not living anymore, but I met her in my lifetime, which is one of the best things that ever happened to me. And to be able to know firsthand, because I spoke to her and I said to her while we were filming, I was like, oh, you smell of Boudoir. Are you wearing Boudoir? She says, yes, always. So I don't have to read it in some book. Which perfume did Vivienne Westwood wear when she was alive? I know. I smelt it on her. She did wear her own perfume. She loved it so much. She worked for many years to create Boudoir, and truth be told, it's the only one she really created and liked. Other perfumes under the Vivienne Westwood name came out when she found out, because yes, they didn't tell her that they were bringing out those perfumes. She got really furious. And of course, everything I say in this video is alleged only, not rooted in truths or facts, just my opinion. But anyway, you can imagine how furious and she got, and they all got discontinued. They were all taken off the market. And then Coty, who back in the day was producing Boudoir, said, well, if we're not allowed to release like a new perfume every year to make more money, it's not worth it for us to just keep making one perfume. And this is why Boudoir got discontinued. Because Vivienne said, it's this one or nothing. And then Coty said, well, then nothing, honey. So thank you, Coty, for being so money greedy and killing a fragrance just because you wanted to make more money and you didn't want to keep this one going because it didn't bring you in enough money. So you got to thank Coty for that. Vivienne just wanted to maintain quality. She was like, this is the perfume I stand behind. I worked on it. I believe in it. I don't want to churn out trash every year, new products that mean nothing, that have no real soul behind them. Oh, but Coty was like, well, we don't care about that. We care about money. Boudoir is my 5th fragrance for the month of January. Also with its beautiful tobacco accord, with its beautiful marigold rose accord. It's like a roll in the hay, honey. It has a post-coital smell to it. There's also dirty honey in here. It changes color. There's also vanilla. It changes color with time. It's a pinky light pink when it's brand new. Obviously, it's not in production anymore. So by now, you're not going to find a pink juice anymore. They've all turned color. That doesn't mean that it's gone bad. It just means that the vanilla is oxidizing with time, and it turns dark, but it doesn't change the smell of it. It's still gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful perfume. And another one gone too soon. You know, just like Vivienne, also Boudoir is no longer in production. But if you can get your hands on Boudoir, you will seriously have a piece of perfume, one of the best pieces of perfume history in your hands. There's nothing like Boudoir. It's comforting, it's soothing, it's exciting, it stimulates you, it eroticizes you, but it makes you more thoughtful. It makes you want to read poems from times long gone. It makes you want to go to a museum and look at dusty old paintings. There's a bit of dustiness to this one as well. It is a boudoir. The name suits it to a T. This perfume makes you dream. This is one of those best fragrances for dreamers out there. This is my evasion. This is my escape. This is my way of closing myself up in a cocoon and crying if I need to cry and feeling okay about it. And just feeling like, you know what? Everything is going to be okay as long as I have this perfume, because every time I smell it, I hear her talking to me. And this keeps her memory alive. It helps me maintain her voice and her memory alive for me as well. So it's a very soothing perfume to have right now, right after Vivienne has passed away. So may you rest in peace, my queen. And you guys, these have been my top 5 perfumes for the month of January. Let me know your top 5 in the comments down below. And until next time, never give up on love and subscribe. Bye.